that there were some young people who are falling off into this extremist attitude, and they may be taking steps to do something, we should come forward and let the leadership know.
Most definitely. You have to now, because you're signing your own death warrant.
And you see, like a lot of these groups that they've caught, you know, they didn't have really a plan to do anything, but they had some intention and some idea about doing something. Now, how can we take from those young people who don't, first of all, were never known for understanding much about Islam, that they were doing something in the name of Islam?
Well, I can't answer this question, but as I mentioned earlier, you have to educate young people and keep them away from these elements. And if you know of elements who are going to do something subversive, you have a responsibility to report them to the law enforcement. That's how it has to go down.
Alhamdulillah, Sheikh. Just one final question. Now, we have many issues facing us as Muslims in America. What do you think are a few of the major issues that we really need to get on top of?
I think, number one, we need to develop an American Islamic identity. For a long time, we thought that American and Islam were synonyms. We need to understand that we're American and we're Muslim. We're Muslim and we're American. How can we synthesize both of those? And number one is by referring back to sound scholarship, understanding the road ahead, how to implement our religion in this country and be a benefit to
But let me ask you, you said sound scholarship. Should there be some emphasis on identifying our people who are talented and qualified to go on become scholars and put them on a track where we can have indigenous scholars?
You need to have scholarship funds in the communities. I'm on a scholarship from a community to study overseas. We need to actually put mechanisms in place to support scholarship that can eventually be a homegrown scholarship.
And let me ask you, because we also have a problem with the youth who do actually go and study, but they don't really complete their studies, and they come back in a manner which they're not completely qualified. They're taking on roles and taking on issues which they're really not qualified or competent yet to tackle.
Well, there's two reasons for that. Number one, the absence of scholars in the West forces these brothers and sisters to engage in the discourse, because if they don't, no one will. So in a way, you have to look at it from that perspective. Number two, we have to remind them, brother, you need to complete your education. Don't start going into issues that you don't have knowledge about. Abdullah bin Mas'ud said, فَمَنْ عَلِمَ, who knows, and let him talk about what he knows. And who doesn't know, فَلْيَقُولْ اللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ, let him say Allah knows best.
Let me just let you point out what's wrong with this statement of this guy he made on the CNN, accept Islam or else.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday the guy comes on CNN and says, accept Islam or else. I don't know what religion he belongs to, because as one of the great scholars mentioned, even that the religion was not spread by the sword, it was spread by what? Discourse, inviting people to Islam. And also was spread by seeing the noble actions of the Muslims, the qualities of the Muslim. We do not believe even in Islam that it's allowable for someone to accept Islam at gunpoint, because the first condition of the Shahada is ikhlas to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even divorce, if you force a man to divorce his wife, this divorce is not accepted. What about someone who converts to religion under duress? La ikraha fi din, as mentioned in the Quran. So we denounce everything that he said. We refute everything he said. This is a maniac who represents an extreme understanding, and we ask Allah to protect us from ghulu fi din, this extremism in deen, and to guide people to the right understanding.
We're here with Dr. Edith Langford, PhD, and she's a psychologist. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Before we talk about our subject, our viewers always like to know a bit about our guest. So tell us a bit about you and how you came to Islam.
Actually, I embraced Islam as an adolescent. When I was about 17 years old, there were always Muslims in my neighborhood. I was born here in Chicago, and I grew up in the Midwest areas in Cleveland, Ohio. I recognized that there were Muslims in the area at a very young age. And it was just interesting. And when I visited the mosque, the questions that I'd had in the Christian church about religion weren't answered. But when I went to the mosque, there were people there who could answer them, and I was just attracted.
Right, and just interested, what were some of the questions that you had?